Woohoo! Hey everyone, this is a super exciting day because this is the very first NFA Money Talk, and we're going to deep dive into all kinds of awesome things. I'm going to let Tiffany introduce herself. First, I want to say I love this because when I started my podcast 2 years ago, she was my very first person that I interviewed. And the reason that that was the case is because she interviewed me for her podcast, which was my very first podcast interview. Since then, I've been on hundreds of people's podcasts and have interviewed more than 100 people. And I took a break from doing podcast interviews and I decided, hey, I want to do a live YouTube show where we talk about the dirty, dark secrets of money in building your business.
Hence, hence our verbiage here on the cup.
Yes, I love it. And I mean, to me, I think that money is one of those things that brings up a lot of shame for people and a lot of fear and doubt. And yet it's the one thing that we measure our success by as entrepreneurs in big ways. It's like how we feel about making money, how good we are at making money and all those things. And I know that you, Tiffany, are really big in the money world and that you're also an incredibly successful entrepreneur. So, talking to people about building businesses and their money blocks and the struggles and the ups and downs is what I want to bring to this show. So first, go ahead. I want to start. What is a money mantra or quote that you live by?
Well, they change. I'm pretty well known for my abundance affirmations. My take is a little different. I don't create money mantras or affirmations around things that my ego can't believe. So, for example, I would not say, I have $1 billion life or billionaire life or something like that. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's a little far-fetched. So mine are really realistic, but my latest one is the more fun I have, the more money I make.
Ooh, I love that one.
Because we're taught, right, that those two things can't go together. I mean, this is how most of us have been programmed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. My 2021 mantra was work less, make more, have fun. So very similar.
Love it.
And I so agree with you. Okay, let's tap into this because I think this is incredibly important. I use money mantras and just mantras in general to realign my brain, reprogram it, get me thinking in the direction. And so I tell people the same thing, like, do not use a mantra if your brain instantly triggers you're full of crap. Like, I think that's important. So, what would someone do? Let's say that they want to build a 6 or 7 figure business. They're like, that's the direction I'm going, but they have some of the imposter syndrome beliefs around it. What would you recommend how they write and construct a mantra?
I would say one, I have something that will really help you that I recently just launched, and I launched it to be free for a limited time to help people with this in 2022. And I do something called an abundance walk. I do it like 5 days a week. It still works if you do it 3 days a week. And what I've included in there is obviously exactly how to do the abundance walk, but also I have a guided meditation. I'm not someone who sits here and is like, like meditating. It just doesn't work for me. I'm more someone, especially when we're dealing with a very triggering, powerful, intense energy like money. I feel we have to move stuff out of our body. So it's a walking meditation. And you guys can get that at projectmewithtiffany.com/guided meditation. So that's something you can get. But I have an abundance affirmation card deck, but I would say for you to create your own, keep it short and keep it real. So instead, if you're like, well, Tiffany, I want to be able to be making $10,000 a month. I don't want you saying, I'm making $10,000 a month now. Yeah. I would rather you say something that feels really true to your ego, that it really can't come back with some kind of rebuttal. Maybe every single day in every single way, I'm working towards generating $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Because that's right. That's something that's true.
Your brain can instantly go, yeah, that's absolutely true. And so it keeps you moving in the right direction, but without triggering the you're full of crap.
Right. Or I'm now available to generate or to make or to call in $10,000 a month, because what your ego is not going to go, well, you're not available for that. You are available for it.
Yeah. I like to say to people, it is possible. Like you could say, it is possible for me to make $10,000 a month. So you're
I
opening up
love
to the
that.
possibility.
Yes, because
Yeah.
some of you are at a point where you're not even at the possible stage,
Yeah.
right? And then we have to work on getting you to, because if you don't believe it's possible for you, ain't gonna happen.
Right.
So I love that. You have to get to that. We've got to get you to a point where you believe it's possible. Then the second thing is like you have a knowing, right? I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And then the third stage is, oh no, it's happening. Like absolute certainty, right? So like possibility, doability, certainty.
Yeah, it's amazing. Mantras have been such a big thing in my formulation. I always have people ask me, what's the easiest path to cash? And how did you go from food stamps to six figures fast? And I tell them, you've got to reprogram your brain. And mantras for me have been a really powerful force. And it was exactly that. It was like in the beginning, if I had said I'm $1 million entrepreneur, my brain would have been like, yeah, right. Like you don't even know what you're doing. And so I started with really simple ones like, oh, I'm a money magnet. Everything I touch turns to gold, because I could believe that. And then I would just start tracking for money in my reality. So I'd start to, embed and implant things in my brain that actually could be believable. And then I just keep up leveling them, so like,
I love that you say you keep up leveling it. I'm at a new level right now, and it's all relative where you're at. I used to make $17,000 a year. I was a broke ass. And I was cheap about investing with myself, which kept me from making the money I wanted to make. There's lots of stories, I share on my podcast.
Yeah.
But we're at different levels. So for example, I had to do a lot of work, mindset work, practice at normalizing, making $100,000 a month. Now I say that to some of you and you're like, well, that's so far-fetched for you. Yeah, but I first had to start at $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then work my way up from there. Because if we don't normalize that, where we can really embody it and feel it and kind of like vibe how that will be and believe right in the possibility, doability, certainty, it's not going to happen. The other thing that people miss the mark on all the time, and I've not seen anyone teach this. I teach it because it was a key puzzle piece that was missing, is that you have to also align your actions with that next dollar amount you want to make.
Yes.
The same actions that got you to $4,000 a month are not going to get you to 10, or not going to get you to 15. They're just not.
Yeah.
Some of them roll over, right? The foundational stuff. And when I say actions, I mean the real scary stuff. I don't mean just the mindset stuff. Can I give an example?
I would love it. I was going to ask you, because what you're saying to me is really important, where we look at different stages of business development. And, when you have a $4,000 a month business, a $10,000, a 15, a 20, 30, 100, different things need to happen in your actions, because you're running a different type of company. And so, I would love to hear a specific example. I have one too.
It's real life right now. I mean, it's real time. You know how a lot of people, and I know you're not like this, which is why I love you. Most online experts, they do not share in real time, right? You'll hear the stories of, I lived on, my grandma's couch and now I'm a multi-millionaire, or, you'll hear those kind of extreme stories, and you have an extreme story and so do I, except we share also our shit that's in real time.
Yeah.
Which is very vulnerable to do. And most people don't want to share that. I talk about if I have a launch that didn't do well.
Yeah.
That's real business. Not everything you touch is going to turn to gold. I'm behind the scenes of multi-billion-dollar businesses with my other company that I have. I have the privilege of being in those rooms. Why do you think there's the dollar store and discount stores no matter what country you're in? Go look and you'll see the land of the misfit products. You'll see flavors of Oreos and Cheez-Its that didn't make the cut. you'll see all sorts of weird stuff in there, and they're trying to recoup their losses because they've lost sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars in bringing something to market with the best advertising firms, market research, copywriters, lawyers, all the things, and it still didn't work. So I just want to remind you of that not everything, what we're trying to do in business is we're trying to stack the odds in our favor.
Yeah.
To have success. So,
and it takes constant pivots.
Right. And you watching this right now, okay, like if we had a card deck, which it'd be nice if I had that in front of me, but if we had a card deck and you're stacking the odds in your favor, okay, now you put one card there. You've just stacked the odds in your favor by watching this because you're taking in real, honest, straightforward, clear, actionable advice from people who have proof of concept. So you've taken an action that stacked the odds in your favor. Hiring a business coach like myself or like yourself, stacking the odds in your favor to learn a proven way versus trying things, FYA from your ass.
Yeah.
Right. Stacking the odds in your favor. So let me give you an example of, I know you love acting. So by the way, I wore this necklace for you, but it's small. You might not be able to see it.
Yes, I can. And before you go there, don't forget where you were going, but everyone watching, you need to know that Tiffany is the reason that I decided to brand my company NFA Money. So or NFA, because the first episode I got on with her, she was like, she reached out to me because on my bio on Instagram, I had NFA coaching at the time. So it said NFA, no fucking around, transformation. And I said, I've gone from food stamps to six figures. And she saw it on Instagram and she's like, I want to talk to you. And so she invited me on and we were having this conversation about it. And she's like, I love that name. That's a really cool brand. And at the time I hadn't branded my company that. It was ABI Coaching, which stood for Amanda Barrientos Institute.
Yeah, that's very boring.
Yeah, boring. No one knew what it meant. I would get these messages with people calling me Abby. They'd be like, "Hey, Abby," and I would be like,
I never thought of that. Yeah,
I would be like, "It's Amanda Barrientos," and like, duh, of course, because I knew nothing about branding and business. I was like, had said nothing about them. It was about my name, which I was just following other people I had seen. And so I stayed up. I don't even think you know this because it happened after we had those conversations. I stayed up all night long after that conversation we had. I mean, I didn't sleep for 1 minute and I just debated and mulled. And I was like, am I really going to name my company a swear word? Like, that's pretty bold.
It is bold.
I woke up and I was like, I didn't sleep. So I got out of bed and I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it.
That's when we make the best decisions.
Yeah.
Well, not in my 20s, but after we say fuck it.
Totally. And I just was like, you know what? It clarifies what I'm doing. It's an attitude that I want people to have. And it has been one of those things that sometimes I'll get messages, of course, of people being like, how dare you? I can't believe you have this word. It's like, oh, awesome. Good to know already up front that we wouldn't work well together. Because if that word bothers you, you're way too uptight for me. And so it's been such a clarifier. And, the whole NFA brand has really just been a really fun process. So, first I want to say thank you. And I want everyone here to know who loves the NFA brand. Tiffany is a huge part of that. So it's really cool.
I didn't realize this whole story. This makes me even happier that I got this necklace got sent to me. And I was like, hello, someone knows my vibe. So back to the real-time example. So I'm taking this is my second company that I operate. So I'm taking Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, the posse, the programs. I'm taking it to the next level. So we're at $1 million revenue a year. I'm taking it to 2 million plus. I am very conservative when I give financial projections for myself or clients. You're never going to hear me go, it'll be my $10 million year. That's just not who I am. I'm more of a realist in that sense.
Yep.
So I asked myself the question, starting back probably around September of last year. So depending on when you're watching this, 2021. And I go, okay, in order for me to take this where I'm really doubling it, right? What is required of me to go to this level? What different actions do I need to take? What risks do I need to take? What investments do I need to take? What kind of vibe and mentality do I need to embody? what do I need to let go of? What do I need to call in? So I've been working through that since September, and I started pulling the trigger on things in December, but I have invested more right now. I have more on the line, hard cash, than I've ever had in my life on either of my businesses. I'm talking big money.
Mm-hmm.
Big money. And I hired 3 more team members. I mean, by all on paper, some people would be like, you're crazy. And I'm not a risk taker, which I'm not set up to be an entrepreneur. I'm actually like, everything I do is rooted in like feeling safe and secure.
Yeah. Virgo,
So,
right?
oh God.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like safe and secure, right? Me having like stacks of cash in the bank feels really good to me.
Yeah.
But I also know you cannot get to the next level by staying in that safe, comfy zone. Like wearing your sweatpants from college isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
Right. You've
Yeah.
got to. So I took the action. I
Yeah.
signed the contracts. I hired the people. I'm in it right now. I know we're going to include the link for you guys, so you can actually watch this launch play out if you really like seeing examples in real time.
Yeah.
So it's starting with my annual 3 days to make bank free live training series. I only do it once a year. It's a $25,000 training that you get for free. We're doing $15,000 in giveaways. So you guys are actually the first people to hear about it. I haven't even announced this on any of my own channels yet.
So awesome. Well,
So
and I want everyone watching to know, like, Tiffany is the real thing. This is why I had her on. I'm like hand picking cherries, selecting the people that come on this show because, you know, in the last 3 years of building my business, I've gotten to meet some incredible people. And she was the first person I thought of. I'm like, I want her on my show because she helped me so much. I've hired her for one-on-one before. She's awesome. I've listened to her podcast for years and it always brings value. And it's like you're saying, like that real-time stuff that like you're in the trenches sharing what you're going through and building your business. You share your failures, your ups and downs. I mean, I've had episodes I've watched of you where I've like cried and been like, that is freaking bold to talk about, you know, like personal stuff you've experienced.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge, really powerful model for me. So in growing my business, and I see you as just a powerhouse NFA. My newest thing is NFA Money Mamas. It's a mastermind.
Oh.
And I'm like, yes, like you're an NFA Money Mama. That's what we want to embody. And so, you know, when you're watching this, go check out her stuff because it's very valuable. And, you know, something you said, like putting it all on the line. Will you share a little bit about your strategy of thinking about how and when it's the right time to do that? Because I think sometimes people will do that, and, you know, and there's that risk management. Like, you know, you've got to know you're going to get an ROI out of it. You've got to put it all on the line and get out of the comfort zone. And, you know, how do people know how to strategically do that in a successful way?
What a great question. And I love we're talking about this. I am not of the school of thought of, oh, just, you know, jump and the parachute will be there. Quit your job if you're not happy. Like, hello, mama has to pay bills. Like,
yeah,
right. I mean, you know, because of the situation you were in years ago,
yeah.
It's like, okay, like we have to be realistic. Plus, if you put too much on the line, that can be a form of self-sabotage. You can fall into extreme scarcity and fear, and then you'll repel any clients, any sales, because you'll be in desperate vibes,
Like
and
frozen.
you can't fake that. And how do I know that? Number one, I've coached thousands of people. Number two, I've been in that. I've done that before. And everyone's risk tolerance is different. But with that being said, if you do not have enough money on the line that's relative to what you're making. So for example, me spending $1,000 a month on, you know, hiring a VA to do stuff for me, that is not going to be enough for me to move the needle, for me to go where I want to go at the level I'm at, right?
Yeah.
And with the amount of revenue I generate every month. And, you know, I mean, it sounds wild, but like I won't even notice that on a credit card bill.
Yeah, of
like
course
I wouldn't even notice that amount yet. But when I was making $40,000 a year, of course I would notice that's 1/40th of my income, right? I would have absolutely noticed that, but it has to be an amount that's large enough to where it would really sting if you didn't get an ROI. Like it would be like, oh, I have to make this work. Not where you're in a freak out, but where it's like, oh, I have to make this work. So right now I have between $60,000 and $80,000 for 1 month on the line. Okay. That's about 70 to 80% of my monthly revenue for Project Me. So just think if you had 70 to 80% of whatever you make a month on the line in cold hard cash,
like you're
I
in.
have that on the line,
you're
right?
Committed.
Believe me, I've had like an eczema breakout. I've had, I've freaked out, but it's making me show up and do the thing where I would have actually kind of procrastinated and I'll do it next month, or I would have been like, I'm not really feeling motivated. It forced me. Did I feel like spending? I've been up since 6 a.m. I'm someone who really doesn't like working all that hard. And I was up at 6 a.m. I'm not a morning person because I had to review dozens of ads because I'm really doing a big ad play and I've never done that. I've built this organically. So I had to review all these ads, all this content, all these emails. I mean, very like tedious kind of stuff. Would I have put that off if I didn't have that kind of money on the line? Without a doubt. Then pretty soon it's summer. Pretty soon the year's over and then I'm mad at myself because I've not done it. So you have to put enough on the line where it freaks you out. But there's a reason why there's PayPal credit. There's a reason why there's business loans. There's a reason why Facebook and Amazon are giving out a ton of money to women of color right now. There's a reason these things exist. Last time I checked, there's no business that starts in the green. Every business starts in debt. Now, this business I created, I used money from my other company as my investor. But it's still on paper, that's still debt. Whether I took it from my other company or I took it from a bank or I took it from Uncle Joe, I started in debt, probably around $25,000 to $27,000 in debt. That's if you have a brick and mortar business, if you set up a medical office, an attorney office, a restaurant, restaurants are hundreds of thousands of dollars. They start in debt.
With years in debt.
And years before you recoup it. That's why this online business model, or even if you have a brick and mortar, but you want to have a revenue stream online, you've got to do it because you don't need to put nearly as much up front. You don't have to go into investment debt up front. You recoup that, your ROI, your return on investment, that can come as fast as even 2 months back.
I think it's interesting because when I started my business, I was on food stamps. So it was like I was building my own website and doing almost everything myself. My investment in myself was often like learning from other people. And so you can start with a pretty low investment with an online business. I think what you're saying is so important is as you scale up, you up the ante of what you invest into yourself and into your business to scale. It's like this is my 4th year in business. So in years 1, 2, and 3, and this, I'm very transparent about it. This year I'm doing a playlist on YouTube called Journey to a Million. So, and this is a big Xing of my business because I have the systems in place now. And I'm like, okay, this could be my year of 7 figures. And so every year I've made more and more. And I had the same thing the other day where I was like, I journal every day and meditate. And I woke up and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this unless I put some more money on the line in delegation. And, that's been a hard one for me, like delegating, that mindset of like, I can do it better. I can do it faster. I got to train someone.
And cheaper because you're very capable. You're much more capable than me. It's a gift that I'm not capable when it comes to graphics or technology. It's actually a gift. So for those of you who are like, I don't know tech, like I'm screwed. In a way, it's a gift because I can't even attempt to do it by myself. So I'm forced to hire
delegate.
people. I'm forced to invest because I could end up taking down my entire system. I mean, it would take me like, I couldn't even do it. It's not even
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah. That's a good point. I know. I mean, I've thought of this in terms of like Zone of Genius. I know that Gay Hendricks is one of your favorite books too, The Big Leap. And thinking about Zone of Excellence versus Zone of Genius, like my Zone of Excellence, I can do a lot of things. But you're right. It's a problem sometimes because it's like, oh, I always have that mentality. I can figure this out and I will. And I have such a wide variety of tools. And it keeps me out of being more in my zone of genius, which is really where the big money is made. So that delegation piece is huge.
And investing that kind of money in other humans to do stuff for you, it's not
Yeah.
the money will hold you accountable, but it's also the people, even if they're people like you've never met before, right? It holds you accountable because number one, you have to pay them and then they feed
Yeah.
their families off what you pay them. Number two, like if you're someone who's like, you don't want to look a fool,
Yeah.
these people you've hired where, that
Yeah.
that keeps me accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in losing money, right?
No.
Like, but maybe for where you're at, like I said, it's all relative. Which is why I start with my 3 days to make bank free live training once a year. Because when
Yeah.
I first started, I did a ton of free trainings. And I had money to invest though, but I was a cheap ass. I was
Yeah.
like, well, I can just watch a bunch of free stuff and like study what other people do and I can do it.
Yeah.
It's fine I did that, but I'll tell you, hindsight's 2020. If
Yeah.
I had actually put some money to maybe take higher level courses or a group program, something like that, I would have grown much faster.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. Like, what would you tell your younger entrepreneurial self? And actually, first, tell a little bit of your story. Like, how long have you been in business? I know you've created several successful businesses and you've been in business for a long time. So, share a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur 14 years. I was in the, corporate world, climbed the ladder. My career started as a TV newscaster, which you're paid crap unless you become like famous, just so you know. So don't be that impressed. And then I went into the world in the pharmaceutical sales world because I had saw so many of my friends. They were at a company car and an expense account, and I was over here eating like top ramen. I'm like, I'm in for that. But kept hitting a glass ceiling. It's very still male dominated. You could only go so far. I saw how much money I was making the company and I was getting a micro fraction of it back. And understandably so, I'm an employee, right? They're having all the risk. But I was like, huh. So I won't get into all the details. You guys can listen on the podcast to get the full story. But I started my first business. I was terrified. I white knuckled it for the first 5 years of my first business. I still have that today. It's a medical digital marketing company. It's in pharma, health supplements. I still have it. It basically runs itself. It's a multi-million-dollar business now. But the first 5 years, I did kind of what you were saying that you were doing is like, I did everything myself. I worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was like, well, I don't want to pay anyone else because I need to keep that money for myself. Otherwise, I have nothing to show for it. And
Mm-hmm.
what the hell is that? And I didn't like that idea. And I thought, well, I'm capable and I can, so therefore I should. I did it for
Mm-hmm.
5 years until I was like, I'm going to quit and go back to corporate.
Yeah. Just burnt out.
I was burnt out. It wasn't fun. And that's when the universe brought me my first business mentor. Thank God, because that was not a thing back then, right? Like there was Tony Robbins and those kind of people, but those are for like celebrities, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't a Dr. Amanda. There wasn't a Tiffany Carter. So I didn't have anything to look at. And then I got to a certain point where I was like, this isn't really fulfilling. This isn't exciting. This doesn't light me up. I mean, yeah, the money is great, but there's got to be more. And I had the idea for Project Me with Tiffany Carter, you guys, for 10 years. And I didn't do
Wow.
it.
I
10
didn't
years. I
know it
had the
was that long.
colors. I had a logo mock up. I kind of knew what I wanted to teach. That's why I am adamant about saying, don't think that time doesn't go by fast. 1 month turns into 6, turns into a year very quickly. I had all the same All the same thoughts that I know you have. It was like, who's going to listen to me? I'm not like some famous Instagram person. I had stuff about my body because most of the people I saw on Instagram who were like teaching money and business stuff were really skinny and blonde, you know, and that I don't look like that. So I was like, again, who's going to listen to me? I don't look like an Instagram model.
Yeah.
I mean, I had
Yeah.
all these doubts.
Thank
Who's going to
God.
buy from me? What if I
Yeah.
can't get people results? And then I have a line of people wanting to sue me. I mean, I had
Yeah.
every resistant.
Wow.
What are people going to think from my other business? Because these are very high profile corporate clients that are, you know, I have to wear like a pantsuit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are they going to think of me? Went
Yeah.
all through all those things. And then, you know, I got to my fuck it point where I was like, oh my God, okay, how much long, this is ridiculous. But it didn't happen till the 10-year mark. You know how like birthday mile markers, certain like there's certain things that happen in our life where we're like,
Yeah.
when I got to 10 years of having this idea, I was like,
It's time.
I'm like, I'm horrified with myself and it
Yeah.
never left me. That's when you know it's time to
Yeah.
lay all the cards on the line. When it's never left you, it's still in your heart. You watch other people online, you're like, God, I really want to do that.
Daydreaming, like, yeah, why
Yeah,
can't I do that?
and
Yeah.
it's never left. You know, the only way you can fail is by not even going for it, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I
Well,
did not
God.
I didn't repeat my mistake from the first
Yeah.
time where it was like 5 years before I really
Yeah.
invested. I did the opposite, which is
Yeah.
good. Take contrary action to things that
Yeah.
don't work. And I did a high level group coaching program. I hired people to teach me things in the online space. I didn't need people to teach me how to make money online, how to do videos or things like that. But the things I did not know, I definitely hired right off the bat, even though, again, that's debt, right? I went into investment debt into my business, but that paid off really quickly. That paid off
Yeah.
in months.
Yeah. Well, and I think about this is where people think like overnight success. It's you can only have overnight success if you've had success in business at some point already and you have more of the skills and the savvy. It's still not overnight success because it's like, oh, I had those 10, 15, 20 years of learning to get to this place of where I am now to know to invest in myself and in my company, maybe go into debt so that I can get things flowing more quickly. You know, something I want to point out for people watching that I think is so powerful that you shared is that you, even though you had this huge history of success and you still had fears. Like it's scary to start a business. Like it's like to me, it triggers every inner critic negative voice that you could possibly hear because you're doing something that's way out of your comfort zone. And especially for people who've never built a business before, it's like, what are they going to think? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Why would anyone listen to me? I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too fat. I'm too ugly. I'm too skinny. I'm too whatever it is. It's like the not enoughness is a big thing, and it's like putting yourself out there is scary. I think everybody struggles with that.
I'm terrified right now. If you are not scared, and I would even say terrified, if you do not feel like that regularly, no matter what stage you're at in business, then you really aren't going for it. Then you're toe dipping and you're playing,
Yeah.
you're not making boss moves. And
Yeah.
I know that, like, I'll even feel it throughout the year. Like, I'll go, I've kind of been in my little comfort zone, not feeling scared, not feeling stretched. And I go, okay, even though I kind of like this feeling,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's time. I've got to now go after one of my three things. I always make three things every year that are like, I'm scared to do it, but I need to do
Yeah.
it kind of goals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I need to go after one of my three things. Which one is it going to be? Because we're not growing if we stay in that kind of safety spot. And it's dangerous because it is very comfy sitting there. That's why
Yeah.
I see so many entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs making under $10,000 a month consistently. They get stuck in the learning, studying, and research phase because it's so much safer in that. It's safer to be the student.
Totally.
It's much
Yeah.
scarier to be in
Yeah.
action and do the thing because it's risk. You can fail. It's awkward. You can look stupid. There's a lot of things that can happen.
Yes. That what you just said is so powerful, because I see this with people all the time where they get to a certain level, they plateau, and then they go, I've got to learn more. But then they use learning as a mask for fear of taking it to the next level. So it's like, what is it? Educrastination or something. It's like where you just keep learning, and it really has to do with imposter syndrome.
Yeah, it tells your brain, it fools you into thinking you're doing something.
Yes.
And I am being productive. I'm doing this, but you're really hiding behind it. You'll never know enough. You'll never know all of it. And the best way to learn is by doing it or by hiring someone. Like I just hired,
Totally.
I haven't gone all in on TikTok yet. Like I've checked it out. I'm like, more content to create. Like, cause it's not like I can pay someone to do videos of me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like someone could edit them and post them, but it's more that I have to do, which I'm usually not interested in, more that Tiffany has to do. But I know I would, crush it on that platform. And so in order for me to save time and energy and have success faster, I just hired a high-level private TikTok coach.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's an example.
Yeah,
Like
because it's A to Z. Like, why learn the whole thing over again when somebody's
I
already
don't
been
have
there
it
and
in
done
me.
it? Yeah.
And then I know, and then I can use it as a valuable asset to teach my people. But some of
Yeah.
you watching are like, oh girl, there's like free tutorials online. Like that's
Yeah.
not that hard to learn. You're right. But that's an example of I haven't gone all in on it yet. I have
Yeah.
had so much resistance to it because now I do have something to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It changes when you're at a different level of success.
Yeah.
Now I do have something to lose. I've created a certain reputation online with my content, with the public. I don't want to put stuff out
It's
there
not
that like even
experimental in the same
yeah, I
way.
don't like I
Yeah.
don't want to put something out there that's like janky. That's not that ain't happening.
Yeah.
And so I've been avoiding using this platform that I think could do very well for my business. So I asked myself the question I talked to you guys about earlier. I was like, okay, what would best support me in showing up and doing it? And I was
Yeah.
like, I need someone who I trust, who I vibe, I like private coaching personally. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
But having someone privately handhold me and show me all the things, and someone who's not cheap, because I'm not going to waste, right? If it was someone who's like, oh, Tiffany, I'll teach, I have people in my audience who would teach me for free,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you've given me so much value. Like, let me teach you for free. I would blow it off. I wouldn't show,
Yeah.
I would put off our calls. I would say
Yeah.
now isn't time.
I'm curious what you think about ROI of time, because one thing I often do is I go like, okay, if my value of time, let's say you're making, for people watching, whether it's $100 an hour, $200 an hour, $1,000 an hour, like to me, it's just smart strategy for you to hire somebody who can teach you it instead of you spending the time learning it because of your ROI of time. It's just like,
Yes.
show me what to do because you already know it and I don't have to spend all that time learning it for free. Because any of us here can learn anything. YouTube University is incredible.
Exactly. And I love this topic. What is your ROI, not just of your time, but of your physical health, your energy? But time is
Yes.
something we can never get back. You can always make more
Right.
money. Energy is a limited daily resource, right? There's little things you can do to bump your energy, but everyone's energy is different, right? Some of you have health conditions, some people's lives, if you have 6 children versus me having no children, my guess is there's a different
Totally.
amount of energy, right? That's available. And I don't mean just energy physically. It's usually the mental bandwidth that exhausts us, where we
Yep.
say things like, at the end of the day, the last thing you have in you is to like batch content because you're just
Yeah.
mentally fried, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do to get support in order to best manage your energy and time? Because I promise you, you can always make more money. You can't get time back, and it's very hard to move the needle on energy.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
unless you're someone who's like super unhealthy and you get healthy. But if you're like an average person, you can only do a couple little things to bump that energy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm in here typing. It's funny because Tiffany and I before we're talking about how I need somebody to be with us on these shows so they can type in the things we're saying because it's like so valuable. And I want you all to be writing this stuff down because you're talking to, you know, Tiffany's way ahead of me in the game. I'm on my way to building super successful businesses in the same way. These are the things that we think about and that we strategize around to maximize our time, maximize our income, and have that business where we get to work less, make more, and have fun. You know, I'm always thinking about my use of time now. I'm going like, what do I need to, and I'm typing this in, what do I need to drop, automate, or delegate to optimize my time?
And sometimes it's hiring someone, right, to teach you a proven strategy or to teach you how to do something because that's going to save you time from you doing trial and error. Or I hope this works as a strategy.
Totally.
Right. And
Yes.
sometimes it's literal
Yeah.
hiring someone to do tech
Yeah.
stuff. But there's other things in business that I always tell people what the catch is. There's two catches to making money online. Catch number one is it's an extreme amount of high quality content you have to put out. Period. End of story. It's one of the things I'm teaching, which is making profitable content in my 3 days to make bank free life training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an insane amount of content. And you can't just keep outsourcing content to people because if it's just phoned in content and it doesn't connect and it's not, you've actually lost money because you push people away. So it's the insane amount of content. And the second catch with making money online is that you really, to scale past a certain dollar amount, unless you already have some amazing skill sets, you are going to absolutely have to hire some people to help you, whether it's help teach you stuff. Like, because if you don't know how to sell, for example, you have no idea how to sell or promote your offers and you're just kind of like winging it, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And now you've wasted time.
Yeah, that's interesting because, you know, thinking about if you were to tell yourself, you know, when you started your business with what you know now, what would you say are like the three most important things you can do with your time in the, let's say, pre-six-figure phase? Like, what are the three most important uses of your time?
One is your branding. Visual branding, and I don't mean just as simple as brand colors, but just your overall vibe, visual branding, your brand messaging and story, and be very, very clear on the psychographics of your ideal client versus the demographics. People buy based on emotions, and your visual branding needs to connect with them emotionally. Your stories need to be packaged in a way that connects with them emotionally. And you get that nailed, or you hire someone to help you get that nailed. That's going to help you stand out in the sea of basicness that we see out there. And I would say the other factor is you really have to learn how to create strategic, profitable content, video content and written content. If you don't know how to do the video or the written copy, it's going to take you a long time to make money. And content marketing's not going anywhere. Video marketing's especially not going anywhere. And anyone who says, "Oh, I just share my stuff, a couple times a week," and I don't know, people buy, well, they're lying. Unless they're a celebrity or like they've built some crazy like influencer account, and for whatever reason, that's a unicorn deal if it's true at all. The reality is that people who look like they're not putting much effort into their content or in marketing their offers, that's their strategy in of itself, is to make it look like they're not marketing so that you'll buy their stuff because you're like, God, they never like really promote or sell anything, and I'm uncomfortable promoting or selling, so I want to hire them. And they're cognitive of that. That is their strategy. Mine is to tell you straight up what works, what doesn't, what the catch is. That's my strategy. I'll tell you what's worth your time and what's not. We're not available for doing unnecessarily hard things, but there's some tedious stuff you have to do, like how I spent, from 6 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. I was straight on my computer, revising, editing word by word, dozens of pieces of content, from ads to emails to a landing page. And could I have not done it? Did someone do all that writing for me? They sure did. Could I have just gone, oh, whatever,
go for
with
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember how much money I have on the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
But would you be willing to risk that much money and not do it?
No. Well, and I think there's a very fine balance between hiring the right people and delegating to the right people. You got to train them and they've got to learn your voice. And then it's like, okay, now you have a leash to go for it, but you've got to put that energy in first to building your own brand to where people even know the voice, and so that's why, I always look at business as this phase-based way where it's like in the beginning, yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of that upfront discovery process. Who am I? Who do I work with? Who can I get results for? Like that branding piece and that branding awareness. It took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
I was laughing because, when you're talking about copy, and I think that was probably one of the hardest things I did in building my business is like, I didn't like, especially coming from the academic world, such a different version of writing.
It's not about, yes, you're taught, right? And I'm conventionally trained myself.
Yeah.
I have my executive MBA at Pepperdine. That's not mentioned anywhere, by the way, in any of my stuff. Because you want to know why? Because no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Unless I had like you have, where I could call myself a doctor. Now that gives instant credibility. So I would take that, but I was too lazy to get my doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, like, I think yes, I agree. It's like automatic credibility.
It is.
People are like,
and it should be. You worked your ass off.
The funny thing is, it's still like the imposter syndrome piece came up for me huge because it's like, oh yeah, well, academic credibility is very different than like knowing how to build a business, And so I also think sometimes people, I want everyone watching to know you don't need insane credentials to build a business successfully. That's the thing too. It's like, right? Because in some ways it can hold you back, just like we're talking about. Like it made me write things that made no sense to everyday people.
Excellent point, because you're probably writing, and this is what happens when I work with people that are very smart. I'll say, your writing is too smart. It comes across as condescending. You're pushing people away. It makes it come across that your teaching style is hard and boring because you're writing in proper sentence structure, proper paragraphs. You need to be writing content like it's a children's storybook because people have the attention span of a gnat.
And you're right. And it's like, it distances you. And it's not the intention. It's just how you've been trained, So then you go like, oh, Russell Brunson's work was like some of the most helpful for me, like reading copywriting stuff. Because I was like, he said something about you need to be speaking at a 3rd to 5th grade level. That's what's going to help people come and want to interact with you. I'm like, oh shit.
And let me tell you guys something, as a former TV newscaster, any script we submitted, right, came back all red slashes through it. If it was past a 3rd grader's comprehension, that's TV news.
Yeah.
The most sophisticated news publication is the Wall Street Journal and the Christian Science Monitor, and that's at an 8th grade level. There is nothing past that.
Yeah.
The USA Today is like 4th or 5th grade, for example.
Which makes sense when you think about confused people don't buy. And so it's like that idea of, I've got to simplify my process, my steps, my strategies, what I'm talking about. And so for me, I think that's been one of the hardest parts of me figuring out my business was like, oh, people want like step 1, step 2, step 3, whereas I was, I often go through this whole, like, here's the everything behind it. I want to teach you everything I know, not because just because I enjoy it and because that's how my brain works.
It comes from a good place. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Not in this sector, right? That would work if you were writing a book for your peers in the academia land, right?
Which no one would actually read.
Right. I mean, my other business, I go after big corporate clients. Very different than having an online business. That's a very different model. That's an agency model. It was built in the old school way. Like you actually have to go and use pitch decks and go, right, fly all over and meet people in person. It's a very different thing. So I had a learning curve too.
Yeah.
Did I have a leg up? Yeah. I had a leg up in the sense that I'm already a professionally trained broadcaster. but each and every person watching right now, everyone has a leg up.
Yeah. You just don't know it.
Right?
You don't
Some
always,
people,
yeah.
you might forget that you have it.
Yeah.
Some people, it's that they're naturally charismatic.
Yeah.
Some people are just so, they're so book smart. That is definitely not me, right? Some people are just really come across really great on video, or just naturally good at explaining things. Some people know how to take just incredible photos, scroll stopping photos. Every single person has a leg up, and then we're envious of the people who have the leg up that we want. Like if I
Yeah.
always say, like, if I knew how to do tech and like graphics, oh my God, my business would be like $10 million right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that's where then you delegate, right? Like,
Right. But I still would, like, I
yeah.
feel like if I knew how to do it, like
Yeah.
I could just like,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
get it done. Oh my God, I feel like I'd be so
Yeah.
much further ahead.
It's funny because I have things like that too. And what I've come to realize lately is it doesn't matter because it can do all those things. It takes time. And then you go, okay, if my dollar per hour rate is this worth my time? Is this activity worth my time? And it's like, I sometimes love to sit down and do the graphic stuff. I'm like,
I have
it's like an
so many people who
art
say that.
project.
They're like, it's therapeutic and my creative
Totally.
outlet. I'm like,
Yeah, but
okay.
then is it making money? Is it, like, really making the big bucks? So it's like I question those things and I go, what really makes me the big bucks is teaching, coaching,
And
masterminds, like
coming up with new
coming up
programs and
with ways to teach
offers.
people how to transform themselves and their money mindset, exactly. And so I go, okay, can somebody else do my graphics up to 80% as well as I do? Absolutely. And
And
hire
that's
those
the
people.
hard part for a lot of us control freaks. And you said it right
Yes.
there. And now if I have a couple people on my team who get to 80%, you're winning.
Yeah.
80%
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
But I mean, when someone first starts with you, whether you're
Yeah.
hiring a VA, wherever you guys are at, I don't care if it's your cousin, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
They can start, it can be as low as like 20, 30%. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is taking me so much more
To
time and
train.
effort to
Yeah, then just do it
train.
myself.
And then
That's
that's why so many of us end up reverting back to doing it ourselves,
yeah.
because the training phase
Yeah.
sounds so exhausting.
Well, and the turnover is an issue too then, right? Because if it takes that long to train someone, you wanna make sure that they stay on your team. So I'm curious what you do that way for incentivizing your team to stick with you so that
Oh,
it can scale for the long term.
I mean, for you guys who get a rash when you hear the word team, because I used to get a rash too. It was like, oh, that must be nice. They have a team. Oh, my team. And meanwhile, it's like their Aunt Susie and their cousin Barbara. That's their team, just so you know. But your team can be contract workers, which is what I highly recommend. I'm not
Yeah.
saying there isn't a certain point where you have full-time people that makes sense, but you get contract people off Upwork, Fiverr, through referrals. The position that I have had the most turnover and the most drama, and I've been ghosted during a launch. I mean, craziness is the
Oh
tech position, which is
god.
probably why I'm so envious
Yeah.
of people who like you who have that skill set,
Yeah.
because I mean, this is highly tech related, and it
Yeah.
was, these people are, I feel like that there's certain roles that are harder to stay
Yeah.
steady.
Well, God, and that tech part, it's true. Like I do love that I can tweak anything on my website immediately, like otherwise it's like, oh, it takes 2 weeks to get something done. So and I do think in delegation, there's a way to hire people for the long term. I always incentivize where I'm like, I want you to grow with my team. I've only had subcontractors and I incentivize through going like, grow with my team. Let's play you in your zone of genius, and then I'll keep delegating out the parts that you don't enjoy as much, and we'll find multiple people to be on the team differently. And I agree. Like I hear that all the time. I'm like, team this, team that, and then you really find out it's like a whole bunch of people having subcontractors, and that's smart business, because you're hiring people for the right job, and you're not trying to have one person do everything
Right. I
for
mean, I
you.
have a lot of I'll hire agencies sometimes. Sometimes that's better. I have like the ad team I hired, it's an agency, but I
Yeah.
still have a key account manager. That makes more sense than me hiring a full-time person.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, as far as people staying with me, I mean, I just have the mindset now of you're here for a reason, season, or a lifetime. I don't want anyone on my team who's no longer excited or inspired to be there.
Yeah.
And if you're not vibing it, like, bye.
Totally. Yeah.
Because what they're getting, because I pay top tier rates to people.
I think that's really important too.
And I've made the mistake because I can be a cheap ass. I've gone like, and not being rude, but I've hired like the Filipino route. Like I've done all that. And that whole line of you get what you pay for is typically true 99% of the time. So I no longer do that.
Yeah, that's been a strategy I've used too, is hire people, pay them well, let them advance with you, pay bonuses. Like that's what I am doing. And that delegation piece is going to be big for me this year. Like it's exciting to play with.
And that's required. That's why one of the questions I said to you guys, you have to ask yourself is, what do I need to let go of in order to call in and to be a match for that level of cash I want to get to?
Yes.
So yours is, right, you've got to let go of the control. Yeah. I had to let go, and sometimes I have to do it 80 times a day, of my need for certainty around getting the ROI.
Yeah.
I have so much on the line. I'm like, but I need to make sure I at least break even on this. Like I get like crackers over it. And it's like, hello, it's business, it's risk. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Okay. This is so important because when you're talking about the energetic frequency, it's like, have you ever read Happy Pocket Full of Money?
Yes.
So in thinking about wealth consciousness, you can never compensate in doing for what you're missing in energetic alignment. So when we think about quantum physics and we think about, I've got to match the next level that I'm playing into for it to be attracted my way so that I can become that business owner, right? So if you're going like, I'm shifting from a $50,000 a year business to a $100,000 a year business, you've got to start to match energetically with being a $100,000 a year business owner or $1 million a year business owner, because you can keep pushing and pushing, but you're fighting against yourself as you do it because you don't have the belief system around being that next level business owner. So that's what Tiffany's talking about there. And like that's energetic alignment is so incredibly critical in building a successful business, not only for getting there in an easier way. It's that be, do, have model where it's like, oh, once I get there, I feel good. I don't feel completely burnt out and like crap. That's important. And then it helps you expand and keep expanding and up leveling as you go. And to me, that's the only way you get to build a business where you actually aren't burned out to hell when you get there.
Yeah. And we don't have to do that.
No,
I only have a couple minutes left, you guys.
Yes. Yes. Wow, that went by fast. I'm not even paying attention to the time.
I just looked and I was like, oh my God, I have to go.
Thank you. Good call. Okay. So tell us right now, and I have put it up several times, everyone. So Tiffany has a new thing coming out that this is the first place she's announced it. So tell us a little bit about that and then we'll head out.
Okay. So I only do it once a year. It's my famous 3 days to make bank, free live training. This is where I'm going to break down each day. There's just 3 things you need to focus on in order to move the needle in your business and like cut out all the rest of the stuff coming at you. It's these 3 things. It's very clear cut. All the details are on the registration page. It will sell out because this is live. So you're going to want to make sure you grab your spot. And that's at projectmewithtiffany.com/makebank.
Awesome.
And it's only done once a year. It's my $25,000 training. So that would be a smart place for you to go next, especially if you feel overwhelmed, confused, and you don't know the first place to start.
Awesome. And everyone go there. Tiffany rocks. I mean, so much value. Listen to her podcast as well, Project Me with Tiffany. And of course, for me, if you want money mindset up-leveling, go to moneyblocksprofile.com. That's your first place to start with me. It'll teach you a whole bunch of stuff about your money blocks. Thank you so much. Really, really fun conversation. I could talk to you for hours. Thanks for coming on.
Welcome. Thanks for having me as your first guest.
You're welcome. It's been great. All right, everyone. Until next week, NFA Money Making High Fives. See you later.
Bye.